Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sounds of the Hardwood podcast. In this episode, we'll be recapping the games that were played last night. We were doing our, I should say, not preseason, but early season predictions of award winners for this season and go over the newest drama regarding Ben Simmons and the unfortunate injury of Zion and how that's going to affect him and New Orleans Pelicans moving forward. So, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good, man. Good.
I'm ready. I mean, season's back, so I'm hyped.
Yep.
Season is back, so I'm mild right now. I'm not. I mean, I've died in the Lakers in time, but I'm mild right now. When it comes to the NBA season, I'm excited, but the Lakers.
You should be sad right now after that display.
And to a certain extent, I'm sad, but not full circle. I'm not going to jump over the cliff. It's 81 games remaining. I ain't going to be like over the top like I'm Skip Bayless or somebody.
No, you're good.
You just got to hope that there's no injury to AD because that's the only defense that your team has right now. And then my team doesn't have a point guard or a front office that's capable or anything of any sort. So, I guess kind of even.
Out of the four of us, the Knicks are sitting in the best place right now. Who would ever thought that was a sentence, right? What it is a sentence. The Knicks are sitting.
They're one Kemba knee injury away from irrelevancy.
He just putting the juju out there for you. I don't know why he did that. But who wants to open us up though with the first game last night, which was the Nets and the defending champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, it's basically, how you felt the Nets played, how you felt the Bucks played, and did you see anything that's, these teams need to address moving forward, or it's just one game, take it or leave it?
Well, we know how the Lakers played, so we'll say that later.
Well, I mean, it kind of looks like Milwaukee hasn't lost a step.
Right.
With the amount of depth that they have, they had one shooter out there who was lights out. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but Norwell?
Wara.
Yeah, he was just like
Jordan Wara.
He's probably going to be like their scorer off the bench, and then there was no stopping Antetokounmpo. And when it comes to the Nets, it's like they need help on the rebound department because Antetokounmpo had I'm exaggerating, but he had 8 rebounds within the first 2 minutes of the game, and
they need Kyrie too, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, I mean, but still, Patty Mills.
Patty Mills
could be a 6-man candidate right there. We're going to talk about awards later, but just the way he was lights out, 7 for 7 on the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
KD back on track. So is Harden. Harden looked a little, not that aggressive, more, the playmaking type. But, overall, I mean, it's just first game. But in terms of, Milwaukee, like I just said before, they really haven't lost a step. And, they still look strong. And, they might take that number 1 seed in the season.
Yeah, looking at the Nets, it's the same thing last season. Their rebounding interior presence isn't there. Blake Griffin got shifted over to power forward, which is not a good thing because he's too slow-footed as far as a defender. Doesn't really have a mismatch on offense. And then you look at LaMarcus Aldridge that came in. He looked like he hasn't played in a while. So it's going to take a little while for him to get up to speed. And then they started Nicholas Claxton, and he just got bodied on every play. You could tell, yes, he's athletic. Harden looked for him many times throwing the lob. And that's great on offense, but defensively, he's just not strong enough to kind of hold his own. And then Harden, like you said, Soto, was timid as far as from an offensive standpoint of finding his rhythm in his normal spots. So he was playing the playmaker role where it kind of took him out of his comfort zone of being that gunner scorer that he is, getting a better feel as the offensive flows. And then Joe Harris was kind of nowhere to be seen. Again, against Milwaukee, he struggled every time he's played Milwaukee. Luckily, Patty Mills off the bench, like you said, 7 for 7 from 3. Looked good. They're going to have to get more of a combination of finding scores off the bench, but then have enough defense in the starting lineup, which I think is going to be a little bit difficult to do just based kind of on the personnel and having them not have played much together. From Milwaukee's side, they lost Drew Holiday, kind of halfway through the game with the heel injury. That didn't affect them any because they picked up pretty much Giannis picked up the effort as he went along and just got better all game. Now he's able to shoot free throws consistently, and he showed a little bit of a jumper, hitting that three. And like you mentioned, Wara came in. He was a garbage time scorer last season, never passed the ball. If you watch the Bucks at all, he always got it and shot it right away and every single time. So that's not surprising that he came in. He is a good scorer. He was in college. I wonder what's going to happen with the Bucks when they get Dante DiVincenzo back as far as fitting into the lineup, because he's their other defensive guard that's kind of in the rotation. So I just wonder if it's going to affect things of him not getting a contract extension, plus the injury, plus integrating him into the lineup. He's not a lights out 3-point shooter, but capable. So I just wonder how that's going to fit as far as the rotation goes, because then you're bumping Wara out, and then you're kind of giving less minutes to Connaughton and Grayson Allen, which it seemed to work last night for them. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks played pretty well. Actually, Pete, looking at the stats for Giannis free throw, he shot about 78% from the free throw, which is pretty good for first game. I know they said they tweaked his jump shot a little bit in the preseason. He actually looked like his jump shot's a little bit more clean. It got rid of a little bit of the funkiness with the elbow and everything like that. Granted, he only shot 25% from three yesterday, but I mean, he's confident when it comes to shooting.
Right.
I know he had about 32 points yesterday. He had, I think, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, and I think he even had a steal. I'm not sure if he had a block or not, but he had a pretty good game. I know Grayson Allen came in and gave them some offense, surprisingly. He gave him about, 10 points or so?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he shot 30% from three in the field, which is awful, but you take the buckets when you can get it, right?
Yeah.
Even the former Nick boy, Thanis got some points, which was surprising. That was pretty shocking because I never see that man ever score. I thought he was just like sort of like the bench warmer. He keeps the bench warm for everybody, but he even had some buckets in there.
Yeah, everything was just clicking for the Bucks. I mean,
yeah, Middleton was still on point. He shot terrible from three as well. Norora was pretty good, and Drew Holiday, obviously the injury or whatnot, but he was pretty efficient from the field before he came out. He was about 71 and 50 from three, so he was playing pretty well. And Connaughton played well too.
His MRI came out clean. So
yeah, so he's probable for the next game, which I think is Thursday.
And
yeah, he'll be okay.
Brooklyn, I don't know. I mean, KD is KD, so KD is always going to be. I think he's always going to be dominant. I do think that they are lacking in the rebounding department. I do think that Aldridge look a step slower, but obviously that's because he hasn't played and he had the heart issue, so it'll take some time for him to round into shape. I do think that Blake shouldn't be playing the 4. I think he should be like more of a small ball 5, so he could be that mismatch, because I think he doesn't have the speed anymore to keep up with other 4s. And I mean, he still has the range and he still has some athleticism, but it's just nowhere near where young Blake was. Right. And I think Patty Mills is just on fire. I mean, he was just a sniper, so he was hitting everything. He finished 7-7 from 3, which is incredible for debut. So I mean, that was pretty good. And then I'm trying to think. Harden was okay. He didn't really seem like he didn't do anything special that stood out, but he played solid. I mean, they're hurting, obviously, not having Kyrie, having the other playmaker there, another scorer. So hopefully that gets resolved itself. That's another story for another day. But besides that, I think the Bucks looked good. I think they're trying to sort of show their turf, and that it's their title to lose.
What do you think, Keem?
Yeah, word. What do you think?
I think I was just thinking as I was listening to everything that y'all had said, and I want to say something.
That was some deep thoughts because you were just staring blank.
Because because I don't want to say the same thing that y'all were already saying, so I had to process to make sure I don't repeat anything. Um, I think the Nets last night offensively pretty much showed that they're one trick pony. It's pretty much if Harden and KD can't shoot efficiently during their isolation possessions, you don't really know who's going to put the ball in the basket. Like to ask Patty Mills to go 7 for 7 every game to give them another third consistent scorer, that's going to be a lot. So even if you said best case he shoots an average of 40% from three, okay, so then you maybe say he hits 3 or 4 threes a game. Okay, so that's maybe 12 points, 12, 16 points that you have from him. Okay, so now where the other points going to come from? You're not going to get much scoring from Blake Griffin. You're not going to get much scoring from um, Aldrich. You're not going to get a lot of scoring from Claxton. You're not going to get a lot of scoring from, I don't even know who else you consider to be a scorer on that team. So it's it's hard how they're going to score. So I think Steve Nash is going to have to be creative with how you put spots for Harden, KD to get easy shots, and then at the same time get some open shots for some role players. Then defensively, I mean, similar to what Pete said, you might as well just put Claxton in a body bag when he's on defense because that's a crime scene waiting to happen because he's too small to guard any 4 or 5. I mean, basically Giannis was just throwing him around like he wasn't even out there on the court. And this is sometimes he boxed Giannis out and he still couldn't get the rebound. So it's like, okay, what you gonna do with that? So I think the Nets are gonna have to change how they play. I know people are gonna say, oh, if Kyrie was playing, and that does play a big part. That's 25 points a game they're missing that they're trying to figure out how to replace that. And then now they're trying to shift their offense to more Harden and more KD. And then the Bucks, I think they just look like a team that is coming off a championship that has all the confidence in the world right now. And you can see it in Giannis, especially now that he makes his free throws. It's almost like as if, okay, the get out of jail free card with Giannis was just foul him. If he comes at you downhill, you just wrap them up, go shoot free throws, Giannis. But if he's going to shoot 78% from the free throw line, that's not an effective game plan anymore. So it makes you wall up. And then with Covington hitting those threes like that, Warren hitting those threes like that, Allen hitting threes, obviously Lopez can hit threes. Holiday, before he got hurt, hit some threes. It's kind of tough to wall up the paint now with those 3-point shooting. I think when DiVincenzo comes back, I think they may have to use him like they used him at Villanova, let him play point guard sometimes. So if you're not going to necessarily start him when he first comes back, then he could be a backup point guard. That way you don't take away the minutes from Covington and Allen and Nwora because they are going to be players that help the team moving forward, especially not having PJ Tucker now. So you're going to need multiple defenders rotating in. So I think they'll be fine with that because he's a guy that can play both the 1 and the 2. So moving forward, I think the Bucks will be fine when he finally comes back. And then the Nets just have to figure out what they're going to do offensively because they're not a team that's going to be built to stop people defensively. So it's going to be how could they score more and more effectively? And I think they'll figure that out. It's just one game.
You know, I had a quick question, which, you know, like I saw Aldridge in the game, and I'm like, damn, he really looks slow and old. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Why, why would they just give Millsap? Because Millsap was another option that they had.
He struggled. He played 5 minutes and looked bad. He looked bad.
Yeah,
defensively, he was getting cooked. And then offensively, he's a stretch guy now. He's not really a rim, like a guy that scores at the rim. So it's kind of like it's pick between him and Blake Griffin, essentially. Because Aldridge at least can still get in the mid-range and score. It's just he's going to be that guy that's slow on defense, reacting, and then he's still getting his feel for in the post, scoring around the rim. Because you got to think he hasn't played in over a year. And then when he was with the Spurs at the end, like he wasn't playing like, really in a role that kind of suited his long-term how he played in his career. He's playing kind of a different type role. So now he's going back to, all right, we're going to post you up. We're going to get baskets that way. And it's like, all right, well, he hasn't done that in 2.5 years, essentially, like legit post up and score like he was shooting mid-range shots. So it's a little bit different. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if a guy like Bruce Brown gets in because he's that small ball, kind of power forward that gets that floater in the lane that kind of takes teams off guard. You couldn't do that against the length of Giannis and Milwaukee, but you could do it against some other teams. And so they kind of, on a nightly basis, maybe don't play Blake or don't play Aldridge and play like Bruce Brown and guys like that. And then even Cam Thomas might get into some games if it's against a lesser opponent or there's foul trouble because he can score and he has no problem shooting it quickly. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what route they go. But I don't know. I feel like if Kyrie did play this season, like if he was on the team, then it would have just relegated Harden to off the ball. And it's kind of like they're fighting for who's going to bring it up, like essentially. And then Harden's off the ball just standing there. And then vice versa, where Kyrie's coming down. And it's like, all right, Kyrie's main attribute is being able to take guys off the dribble. You're taking that away. I don't really see how that fits. So I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned. I know it's one game, but I'm a little bit concerned about the age of some of the guys on the Nets roster and then the fit of some of the other guys. Not that they will finish like, oh, they're not going to finish second or third. Not that. They're too good for that. But come playoff time, it's like, okay, if you're having to face Milwaukee in a 7-game series, can you take them out with just KD and Harden and some of these other guys mixed in there? I don't know that you can.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that brings us now to the second game of the night, which is my beloved Lakers and the Golden State Warriors.
Why don't you take that one first, King? Since that's your team, might as well.
First. I mean, I'm gonna start with, and if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna start with the Warriors first because I'm gonna give credit to them and their performance last night. They got
well,
down
there's not much positive about the Lakers, so you had to hold them off.
They got down.
Relax.
The Lakers did have a 10-point lead at one point, and I don't know what happened after that. It went downhill. The Warriors are an interesting team because I know everybody says, oh, when Klay Thompson comes back, they're going to be a contender. I think that's unfair to ask a guy that's 2 years removed from an ACL injury, Achilles injury, and 1 year removed away from an ACL injury. Vice versa. Mm-hmm. 2 years removed from ACL injury and 1 year removed from Achilles injury, that he's going to look like the Splash Brother that last won a championship with the Golden State Warriors. So I think moving forward for the Warriors, they need a second scorer consistent. Last night they got scoring from a group of guys. Poole played well. Wiggins hit some shots. The big men, that they got from the Sacramento Kings, I always mess up pronouncing them.
Nemanja Bjelica.
There you go. He played well. He shot the ball very well. I think he caught the Lakers off guard. Like, who was this guy? I don't think he was on the scouting report at all because he was wide open.
Last year, he got traded from Sacramento to Miami, and at the end of the year when he was in Sacramento, they force-fed those minutes to Marvin Bagley, and he had to sit. And then when he got traded to Miami, he didn't have a role. So it's kind of like, oh, he fell off and he's not able to play, and then his passing is better than people think.
Yeah, because Draymond didn't play that well last night. Mm-hmm. And so moving forward, like, to me, it's like, okay, Curry's going to be Curry, but it's like, who is that other scorer that he can say, okay, if I'm getting double teamed, I can trust that this guy is going to be able to create shots for himself and create shots for his teammates. That should be Wiggins, but we'll see if he can turn into that player, or maybe it becomes Poole. We won't know moving forward. And like always, the Warriors are very small. They're not a team that's going to, be a team that's going to get a lot of defensive rebounds and stop teams from getting to the paint. So they pushed tempo, which worked to their advantage. Eventually, they wore the Lakers down and then were able to drive and kick and hit the threes. As far as the Lakers go, Russell Westbrook has to be Russell Westbrook. He can't be this version that he thinks people want to see because he thinks that's going to cause the Lakers to lose. No, you got to be you. When you get a rebound, go push the ball. Don't walk it up the court and then, all right, let's give it to LeBron and then no. If you get a rebound, push tempo, look to attack the basket, get some layups, get some dunks. Then he draws attention. Then you could kick it out to those guys like Bazemore, Monk, and Nunn when he's there, and Ellington when he's there, Ariza, Melo, etc. So
I'm surprised you didn't say shoot the jump shot.
They can hit some shots. And then if the team is back, then now you could pull it back out and then give it to LeBron and then let LeBron be the half court point guard. I think that's what the Lakers should be like. He should be the open court tempo point guard, and then LeBron should be the half court point guard. So that way you get the best of both worlds. Russell can be Russell in the open court, and then LeBron can be LeBron in the half court.
What about the jump shot? You forgetting about that, man. You talk about layups.
But he's got to get – he makes his jump shot when he's pushing tempo because he shoots the little mid-range from the free throw line in fast break. He's not a
you mean bricks it from the free throw.
He's not a catch and shoot guy.
You know, so his nickname is Westbrook. So I mean, let's be honest. But yeah, I don't think Westbrook played well. Carmelo didn't play well either. I know he shot pretty awful too, if I'm not mistaken. As well, he had about 9 points, which is not much. Looking at the Lakers stats, I know AD and LeBron were on their A game, and everybody else is pretty much didn't really contribute and do well. I know DeAndre Jordan and Dwight only played about 13 minutes apiece, so they didn't really contribute much. I think those are the only two Lakers that had double-figure scoring. Everybody else was under double digits, which is not going to help you win games, obviously. And I know Carmelo was the closest with 9, but he didn't shoot too well, and he never played defense. So let's not even get into that. That's another discussion for when he retires. But I think the Warriors did play well. Curry had a triple-double. He basically proved a lot of people wrong, showing that he doesn't need that rule that they made that people said that rule was going to hurt him. I don't really think that rule really applies to him. I don't really think it's going to hurt him. So I think Curry's just such a great shooter that he doesn't really need to rely on that kind of rule, obviously, and they're not going to call it anymore. I always have a hard time saying his name, Bielika. He played
Bielitsa.
Bielitsa.
Yeah, Bielitsa.
Yeah. And you know who else? Yeah, Bielitsa. I always knew he was a sleeper, so he's always played well with any team he's been with, besides obviously Miami. But he's been there. Iguodala played well, surprisingly. I think he was one that really didn't get a lot of time and shine with Miami, and I think he's sort of back home, so he's going to fit in really good with Golden State. I know, like Rakeem said, they're going to take away from all the other players because of Clay, and I agree. You can't really take away because it's a whole team. I know Wiseman is obviously not there right now, so that hurts them a little bit too because of the height. But I know Looney's a solid backup. He didn't play too well, but he's a solid backup. I know Wiggins had 12 and 7, but Wiggins is inconsistent. That's been an issue for his whole career. Draymond 6 and 8 really didn't play well. Jordan Poole is one that everybody really needs to look out for because I think he's going to have a breakout year for them. He's been playing really well. He had about 20, so I think he's going to be really good. And I think Damian Lee actually might have a breakout year for them too because he played well too. He had about 15. So I think Warriors do have some nice pieces on that team to actually contend and not be in a play-in game this year, I think definitely they won't be in that position they were last year where they're playing in to make the playoffs. I actually think they will be in it. What spot they will be in is an interesting thing to think about because the West is always just ultra competitive. But I think the Warriors have a good enough team, including getting back Wiseman and a healthy Klay Thompson, could definitely make a run.
I mean, the best bet is for when Clay comes back to come off the bench because he's easing his way back in. You still leave Jordan Poole in as a guy that they have to guard because, like you said, Wiggins is inconsistent, so they have to have a second scorer. You can't expect Clay to come in and average 20 a game right off the bat. Like, it's not going to happen. And he's not going to defend at a high level either.
He's probably going to lose a step or two because of the injury.
Right. I mean, shooting doesn't go away, injury or no injury. It's just you got to do more than just stand in the corner. And if you're Clay, you got to move around, and all that takes time. The mental part of getting, okay, I took a bump here. I'm okay. Like, I'm good. Like, and just getting that repetition back in. I'm a little bit worried about their depth as far as overall, like, because Iguodala came in essentially at backup small forward and backup point guard, and he's older, so it's kind of like they got to get something. They did kind of sprinkle in the 7 seconds of Gary Payton II, and he got a steal, and that was good. Like, he's a good defender, but he's not a good offensive player. So they've got to find something there to be able to not play Steph so many minutes all season long. They've got to find periodic rest here and there. And this team is not going to blow out teams like the old Warriors teams did. So he's not going to be able to rest an entire fourth quarter, 2 games a week and stuff like that. And they've got to get consistency inside as far as a defensive rim presence, because when they play teams that are faster and more athletic up front, I mean, they're going to get killed. It's just the Lakers are older, and so they weren't able to capitalize on that. Like DeAndre Jordan had a lob dunk to begin the game, but that's because Kevon Looney just kind of lost track of where he was, and that was a more mental mistake than anything else. From the Lakers side of things, I don't like the substitution patterns that Frank Vogel put together. And it's a pattern with him when he was in Orlando, a little bit when he was in Indiana, to try different things throughout the year and kind of get a feel for what he likes, what he doesn't like. But at this point, you have a veteran Lakers team, and those guys have more of a prominent voice and you're going to lose the locker room faster if you start tinkering with all this different stuff and it's not working. And the guys clearly see stuff that is working, and you're still tinkering around a month from now. So in the next 2 weeks, he needs to solidify, all right, we're always going to go big with DeAndre Jordan and Anthony Davis up front, or we're going to go small and move LeBron to the 4, AD to the 5, and this is how we're going to run. And we got to figure it out. And then when guys come back, like Trevor Ariza, Taylor Horton-Tucker, we'll get those guys in and figure out where they fit into the rotation. But they've got to solidify who's going to play night in, night out, so Westbrook can get comfortable with the teammates. Carmelo can find his spots within the offense. All that stuff matters with a veteran-laden team. And I think that I'm not going to panic and say, the Lakers are going to be in the play-in, because I don't believe that, just based on their expertise as a team and just kind of where they are. But, I am just a little bit worried about Westbrook and just kind of where he fits. Is it going to take him till January, February to figure out where he fits, or is he going to be able to find that groove faster and say, okay, I can't be the athletic, push it, shoot a mid-range jump shot and transition Westbrook. I might have to make some plays for others and then find spurts throughout the game for 4 or 5 possessions where I'm hot and I, get going and accept that role. If mentally he accepts that, the Lakers are going to be in the finals. If he doesn't accept that and wants to be the go-to guy right behind LeBron and AD, and on some nights be the guy, if LeBron necessarily is playing a more playmaking role, that's not going to work, because teams are going to say, all right, Russ, go ahead and shoot it. That's fine with us. So that's my only worriment there.
Gotcha.
For me, it's not. I'll start with the Warriors. It's not mostly. I'm not gonna really focus on the starters. It's more their bench, and the fact that they were, able to provide 55 points from the bench, outscoring the Lakers, and just the fact that the team, the whole team, can easily get to the line, and they're effective from the line too, 25 out of 30. As opposed to the Lakers, where they shot 19 times from the free throw line and shooting 47% from the free throw line, which is atrocious. And then with the Lakers, it's like, with Westbrook, it's like Pete and all you guys pretty much said, where does he fit in? And it's because of spacing purposes. In what, 35 minutes, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, but at the same time he had 4 turnovers. It's like, that's not Westbrook's game. And the only encouraging part, with the Lakers is, LeBron, for, his age, still producing, the way he is right now, is just, tremendous. And AD fully healthy, you guys won't have a problem. And again, he's your best defender. So as long as AD is fully healthy, then the Lakers should be good. And, when Carmelo getting 26 minutes off the bench, I never expected that. We've seen the couple of, past 3 or 4 seasons, he's been averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. But it looks like he's their go-to scorer off the bench. So, he has to be a little bit more efficient, because he's getting that opportunity again with the amount of minutes. So,
Can Coach Norman Fisher said Westbrook has to play without the ball in his hand. Real basketball move without the ball.
Yeah, he has to learn that.
Yeah,
It's not so,
with that.
he has to learn that. I mean, yeah, like you said, good luck with that. But that's something that he has to learn. And I agree with what Fisher just said.
Gotcha. All right. So I mean, y'all were gentle on the Lakers. I mean, it wasn't all out.
It's one game though. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna kill.
No. I'm just saying that because that's been. The
I mean,
narrative
they were
today.
in like a 7-game losing streak. Then
Most
Just-
people,
just take it- just take it for now.
outlets have been like killing them.
Come back to me in January, and I'll let you know how Westbrook is doing then.
So that's why some people already started the trade Westbrook thing. So that's the only reason why I said that. But
Yeah, it doesn't. It's one game.
since we're gonna take a quick outlook now on the whole season, and go over to who we think are gonna win what awards coming into the year. So I'm just gonna when you talk, just say what the awards. I don't have to say one at a time. Just say each of them. So obviously we got a MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved, Rookie of the Year, and Coach of the Year. That's just the order that I wrote down myself. So that's just the order I said them in just now. So that's right. Soto, you usually have interesting takes, so I'll let you start off first.
all right, so you want me to just name all of them,
Soto's
right?
face was like,
Okay, all right.
just name them all.
All right, so
yeah.
I mean, you guys can ask me why, and then I'll answer. But for MVP, I went different. Giannis is the obvious pick, but I didn't go with Giannis. I actually went with Kevin Durant. With the Rookie of the Year, I went with Jalen Green. With Defensive Player of the Year, if fully healthy, I went with Anthony Davis. Sixth Man, the biased Knicks fan in me picked Derrick Rose. Most improved, I'm gonna go with Jordan Poole. I had either Jordan Poole or Michael Porter Jr., but I'd go with Poole instead. And Coach of the Year, I'm gonna go with Eric Spoelstra.
Okay.
Nice.
Not too bad. Not too
I
bad.
like that one.
Yeah,
Not
I
too
mean,
bad.
I did pick like Miami to be the most improved team in the previous episode. So, okay.
Gotcha. All right. Pete, what you got?
All right, MVP. I've got Kevin Durant. I actually would like to. Well, no, I'm gonna change that on the
No
fly.
Ben Simmons, man? Come on.
I'm going Luka Doncic. I'm gonna do something different. Go Luka Doncic.
It's a good one.
Rookie of the Year. I'm still staying with Jalen Suggs. I think he gets the most opportunity on that team because the only reason I did not pick Jalen Green is because Kevin Porter Jr. having the ball in his hands is going to take away. Sixth Man, I got Tyler Hero. Most improved. It was a tie between Jordan Poole and Nikhil Alexander-Walker for the Pelicans. I think either one of them could be right there. Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Davis, if he's healthy. If somehow he goes down with an injury, I'm going Bam Adebayo. Coach of the Year, I want to see Monty Williams win it because I think he got snubbed out of it last year. But I think ultimately it's going to go to Quinn Snyder because I think the Jazz will have the best record again in the West. They'll be that regular season team. So,
All right, Henry.
I don't think Monty got screwed. I think Tip had a good year too. Remember that?
Oh Lord.
And bias.
whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, anyways.
Bias.
Oh,
One
For
team
every-
made the finals and one team didn't.
all
For
right.
me,
Who's
yeah.
your MVP? Julius Randle, right?
no,
Imagine.
bastard. No, actually, no. I'm being realistic. For me, it was pretty much a tie between KD and Giannis. For me, with that, what else we got? We got Defensive Player of the Year. I actually had a tie with that too. I had a healthy AD or somebody that nobody's even said.
Obi Toppin.
No, Marcus Smart.
Okay, I can see that.
Marcus Smart. Yeah,
I can see him being up there. Good defensive player.
I think that was one. Rookie of the Year. I was thinking either Cade or Jalen Green. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green. For most improved, I was actually thinking of John Morant as one of them. Nobody mentioned him.
I had him as most improved, and I got killed on Twitter, so I just said that whatever.
Ja
So
Morant
they were like,
or-
"How do you have him as most improved?" I said, "Well, if he makes the All-Star team, that's most improved." But whatever.
Yeah.
And another one taking another leap was De'Aaron Fox.
Nice. Okay.
I have that. For 6 man of the year, I have Tyler Hero, which Pete has up there. But I also have one that will make Keem happy, and it's actually going to be pretty shocking. Is your boy that plays for the
Dennis
Bulls.
Schroeder.
No,
Who?
Alex Caruso.
Oh, Caruso,
Ah.
the bald eagle, Caruso.
I think
He's got to score more.
I think he will. He's in a different role. For Coach of the Year, I had Quinn Snyder and I had Steve Nash.
Gotcha. All right. So for MVP, I went bias. All right. I went bias. I said LeBron James MVP.
We figured that.
I went bias. I didn't say LeBron last year. I
Do we
went
need to
Embiid
put
last
Defensive
year.
Player of the Year Anthony Davis as well?
Defensive
No, I
And-
didn't know.
Oh,
Davis at defensive
And most improved Russell Westbrook.
and 6-man
I
Carmelo.
mean, triple double will really be most improved.
6-man
I mean, he
Carmelo,
does that
Coach
on
of the Year,
regular.
Frank Vogel. Yeah,
So it
just
doesn't
you might as well
matter.
just do the whole Laker lineup,
I mean, that sounds like that could happen. I mean, it really could. Those are realistic choices right there.
Executive of the Year, Rob Pelinka.
Of course, he should have won it last year, but we're not talking about that. All right. But MVP, well, defensive player of the year, I said Giannis. I think Giannis will try to win it again this year because of the fact that, I mean, there's enough offense on Milwaukee where, he could get his 25 and 10 calm work, and then he can do stuff like he did yesterday, block somebody in the middle of the air like Claxton. Honestly, I think that was a turning point for Claxton. He didn't look the same after that block. So I say Giannis. For my 6-man, I agree with Soto. I said Derrick Rose because the Knicks need offense off the bench, and he can do that. I feel like he about to light the Boston Celtics up tonight. So
And somebody disagreed with you, King. By the way, they said AD and LeBron served a notice. If they hit you, Coach Norman Fisher said that. He said if they hit you with a 30-piece in average every night, the West is in trouble. And he said go Knicks and then lay off the Knicks and put a bunch of laughing emojis.
Because we were slandering the Knicks for no reason. I see that.
No, that wasn't me. I don't slander no damn Knicks.
6-man is Derrick. I say Derrick Rose because he can score 15, 20 points off the bench on this Knicks team. For most improved, okay, all right, hold on tight for this one because I mean this is a reach. It is a reach, but it's a good reach. I said Lonzo Ball because of the fact
the shooting and all that stuff.
I don't think that's a reach at all.
He's in
That's
a bigger role.
That's interesting. I think we've all had interesting takes on certain positions and players this year. You had Lonzo, I had Caruso. Everybody has
Caruso.
Different.
I was thinking Caruso, but I just said
no.
Lonzo.
I honestly like that Lonzo pick because obviously with the offensive weapons that he has, you would think that he can flirt with a double season.
Yeah,
he can.
Yeah.
Especially with a 3-point shot that he has now.
Mm-hmm.
My only worry is like how much exertion is he going to have to do on the defensive end because of DeRozan being there and Levine, and like is that going to take away his rhythm on offense?
I think that will help him build that case for most improved. He's playing good defense and scoring. For
Let's see how
year,
Levine do with defense too. He might improve too. You never know.
True. He has no choice, right? The team is finally competitive.
And DeRozan's okay defensively, so we'll see.
Rookie of the year, I said Jalen Green. To me, offensively speaking, because it always goes to the person that averages the most points, it's kind of biased. The only rarity has kind of been like Ben Simmons, because he was almost averaging like a triple-double as, that second rookie season he had. So, and then Coach of the Year.
The only man that went Rookie of the Year twice, man.
Second rookie Coach of the Year, I said Nate McMillan. Because if you had to pick the team that if they repeated their season of last year, that we're not predicting them to be a top team again, and they do it again, then that's why I said.
Yeah, the Hawks can get to 3 or 4 even, and like make it to the second. Well, obviously it's regular season awards, but if they get 3 or 4 in the East, like I mean I could definitely see Nate McMillan.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think of that. That's a really good one.
And last, but certainly not least, it's about to get hot in here. It's about to get hot. It's all right. Parental advisory is
All
in
right,
place right now.
I'm not going to curse.
What Laker player are we dealing with?
No, it's not. It's we gonna give Pete his Stephen A. Smith segment like this is first take. All right, so I'm gonna be like Molly, and we're just gonna sit back and go, Pete, what do you feel about Ben Simmons and the 76ers?
Oh God.
Man, I just don't get so you basically you're Brian Colangelo. You drafted Ben Simmons coming out of college, knowing that he was entitled to begin with. Like he didn't have a strong work ethic in high school. Like his high school coach was very hard on him, pushed him very strong, but knew the reservations as far as a player. Like, okay, you could be great, but you're going to be somebody that has to be challenged and pushed, not somebody that's kind of given the keys. Well, they did that, right out the gate at LSU. You see, he kind of quit on his teammates, kind of sort of like didn't want to be there in college. Okay. Oh, it's just his teammates. Like the team was bad, blah, blah, blah. Gets drafted to the Sixers, Embiid's battling injuries. Colangelo's like, all right, I got a star in Ben Simmons. I'm going to back him. Colangelo gets booted for all the secret social media stuff with his wife and all that and everything. So the regime changed. Ben Simmons still has his lackadaisical, doesn't want to put in full effort, can shoot shots in practice, but doesn't want to do it in games. Him and Brett Brown go at each other. Jimmy Butler comes in. Jimmy Butler's like, look, dude, I want to win a championship. I'm not going to play these games of your half-ass effort. And, at the end of the day, the management chose to let Redick and Butler walk to appease Ben Simmons because they figured, okay, multi-talented positional player that is great on defense could really come forward on offense if he can put it all together. Let's give him another season. Well, we get to the Atlanta Hawks matchup, and he just totally has a mental collapse, and it was bad. Doc Rivers basically, told the truth of they don't know if they can count on him to be a point guard. Joel Embiid basically is done. You get to the off season. Ben Simmons goes back to Australia, wants to cry about how he's not going to come back to this team, doesn't want to be a part of them. All that kind of stuff forces out, wants to force his way out. Rich Paul season opening of, okay, well, we got a chance to get Ben out of here while we're at it. Let's get Tyrese Maxey out of here too, because it looks like Doc is going to play games and start Shake Milton at point guard over Tyrese Maxey. So we ain't going to have that because there's no way I can get a max contract eventually out of Tyrese Maxey if he doesn't play. So the play was, all right, Ben's not coming back. You need to trade him. Daryl Morey's like, all right, well, only if we get Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard. At that time, Damian Lillard was so-called available from, a couple media outlets, whoever you believe. Turns out he's not. They get multiple offers from multiple teams. Buddy Hield and the Kings had an offer. You had Brogdon and Indiana. You had the Cavs and Colin Sexton. None of those were to, Daryl Morey's liking. So he's like, all right, you're coming back and playing. Doc Rivers is like, all right, I'm going to take the tough love approach, and he's going to practice, and he's going to be with us, and he's going to be there opening night. Ben Simmons says, nope, not doing it. Holds out, doesn't want to get vaccinated. That's fine if that's what you believe in vaccination. I'm not hating on him for that. That's his choice. But knowing that you're not getting vaccinated knows that it's going to put you behind for training camp, which means you're trying to buy yourself more time to get traded. Well, management's not going to just trade him for nothing, because when you look at it, it's like if they don't get an all-star back and then something for the future with that, they're one Embiid injury away from being in the lottery every year. And that's what it comes down to. And so they have to get some kind of value back, a quality player. Well, now that Ben Simmons pulled his latest stuff this week, first in practice, he has a cell phone in his pocket. Then it was a jersey in his pocket and wants to halfway do defensive drills. Doesn't want to be in the team huddle. Mm-hmm. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Well, you get the reports he gets thrown out of practice. Doc Rivers kind of set him up with that, knowing the day before that, all right, he's not all in. Let's find a way to not have to pay him, and we're going to fine him on top of that. So that was, I think, Doc Rivers fed up. Then you had Joel Embiid that just basically was like, I don't want to talk about him, and is done. But at this point, if you're the 76ers, and you're the front office, you have nobody to blame but yourself, because you knew that Portland wasn't going to give up Dame Lillard for Ben Simmons without getting some assurance that Ben Simmons was going to buy in, and he wasn't willing to give that to anybody. And then they're not going to give up. I mean, it's not going to happen.
The one that Sham said?
No, I mean, I still wouldn't do that trade. But, I mean, because they're not going to get McCollum now. Like, so all Ben Simmons did with this is he tried to do a leverage play. He tanked his own value. The Sixers front office tried to fleece other teams for way too much value, and they just backed themselves into a corner. Now, eventually, they're going to have to trade him, and they're going to trade him for lower value. I'm talking about a mid-tier player on a team, maybe a first-round pick, and maybe one other rotation guy. And you're going to go, that's all they got for Ben Simmons after all this? And it's going to be a disaster. But at the end of the day, the plus side is Embiid doesn't have to talk about him anymore. The Sixers don't have to worry about it. They can move on with the team that they have. The problem lies with overall, whatever team's getting Ben Simmons has to worry about, is this going to happen again if he doesn't fit in and get into the offensive system that he feels like he's capable of playing in. And then from the NBA standpoint, this now sets a precedence with Ben Simmons wanting out. You had previous players and James Harden wanting out. And you also had Anthony Davis wanting out. So how year after year these players went out of these contracts, it just doesn't work as far as from the collecting bargain agreement, because
they're going to change it. They're going to have to change
ownership. Yeah, ownership's going to be like, why are we going to play these guys and they don't want out? Like, we can't count on these guys. And I know we're going to talk about him in a minute, but Zion's kind of coming from his camp. It seems to be his family members, not necessarily Zion. And we know how the family member dynamic can get murky when it comes to like Kawhi Leonard. Like, but it comes to the point where, like, what do the Pelicans do now?
Right.
Like, you know, what do the Sixers do with Ben Simmons other than trade him? You can't stash him at home and say, we're just not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. We're going to continue to fine you, all that stuff, because then you're going to get into some kind of grievance with the NBA, like despite the contract. And then, you know, it's just not going to work. With Zion, like the foot injury, I feel like you're over 300 pounds now. You haven't taken the conditioning seriously. You haven't taken any nutrition seriously since you've been there, because you're relying on your family members, because you want to help your family members, and you came from a small town. You didn't come from a lot. You know, at the end of the day, I get it. You want to put your family on, you want to help them. But at the end of the day, your career is on the line. Like, if you can't come back from this foot injury and stay healthy, then you're not getting a max deal. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you're Zion by name. If you can't stay on the court, the Pelicans are not paying you a max contract to sit for 30 games a year or more. And then at this point, with his weight over 300 pounds, he needs to be at 265 max, because his elevation and then his landing power is going to mess up either his foot or his knees to the point where he's never going to play. And then it's like, okay, you were a what if scenario of, man, you could have been the face of the league and you never got there. And it's like, you're an athletic Robert Tractor Trailer that couldn't keep your weight under control, is what it comes down to. And it's sad. I want to see him do well. I love Zion. You know, it was game, but he can't stay on the court. And you can't rely on Brandon Ingram as your number one option if you're the Pelicans and expect to make the playoffs.
No.
I was gonna say Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp, yeah, that's a good one too. I was thinking that too. Sean Kemp was
later. Sean Kemp. So Sean Kemp didn't get fat till that lockout season.
Yeah, where he gained like 35 pounds.
Yeah, well, he gained like 50 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
He was a monster.
Yeah, it was 50 pounds, and he said all he did was sit around and eat. And you got to remember, he was on drugs a good heavy bit,
and he had alcohol
for a while too.
yeah.
And then he got into alcohol issues, and all that played a factor in it.
Just to add, Pete, and everybody, Coach Norman Fisher left another comment and said Ben Simmons is in basketball issues. He said young professional athletes are a microcosm of society of young adults that don't know how to conflict resolve, which is true. Don't accept constructive criticism, 100% agreed. Working in mental health, I know how that is already. And aren't used to being held accountable, which definitely is true. I mean,
correct.
Pretty much Ben Simmons has checked out all those boxes. He can't handle criticism.
Look, I'll say this: the criticism. He's a whole bitch for what he's doing, because that's wrong for the NBA and wrong for the city wrong for the fans, wrong for
It's
everything.
not, not only that, but it's like your teammates. I mean, you're leaving them
Yeah,
dry
but
like that.
he's had
But
character issues since high school, and in college he had the same thing. I've done a lot of research on it. Like he
I'm
had
pretty sure
character
he's
issues.
I'm pretty sure he's more focused about streaming
No,
and
he's
playing
not.
video games than fucking
He's not
playing
focused.
basketball.
He's not
He's a
focused on anything. He didn't
he's
even
a
focus
car
on school.
collector.
He had a 1 point something GPA in school. He's not motivated for anything.
Mm-mm.
Like he is the most unmotivated person. He cares about everything that's outside the NBA and has all the potential in the world, oozing potential, but just doesn't have the work ethic to get there. Like if you want to win a championship, do this. Yeah, he was runner up for defensive player of the year. So what? He disappeared in the playoffs. You could be a regular season player you want. He passed the ball up on a wide open dunk to Tobias Harris, who was not open and got blocked.
Yeah, but just like Pete just mentioned, like just ship him in a trade and wash your hands after that. You don't want to deal with that drama. Obviously the value went way, way, way down, and what you're probably going to get is a first round with somewhat, like Pete said, a rotational piece, but. Just to get rid of him, leave all the distractions aside and just, focus on the team. Because, it really is unfair to the other teammates, especially Embiid, But, yeah, they just need to get rid of Ben Simmons as quickly as possible and take the first package deal that they see.
What about
Zion,
situation,
Soto?
With Zion, it's like, listen, it's not Zion's. Zion's all overweight and whatnot. But I'm going to be that one person. I'm going to say that I feel like this is a way to get out of New Orleans. I'm just going to be that guy. I feel like Zion definitely wants to win, but we've seen reports that there's been various miscommunications between the Pelicans and Zion that I'm convinced like he doesn't want to be there anymore. But he's not taking that Ben Simmons approach. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's unfortunate, but
yeah, that is what it is. Henry, what are your thoughts on Zion? Because you already gave your thoughts on Ben.
Yeah, my Ben Simmons take was short. I just don't like the way he's handling things, and he can go about a better route of doing it. Like Coach Norman Fisher said, he just doesn't know how to accept conflict resolve and select the criticism well. So hopefully he gets his act together, whether it's in Philly or whatever team he goes to. But I just think the cycle is going to continue with him, unfortunately. He's just not going to be involved with the team and anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as for Zion, obviously we always knew weight was always an issue for him. Zion's a big dude. I agree with Soto says. I do think he's trying to do a different way of forcing his way out. I don't know if he's killed his trade value because he had a crazy season last year, but I think he's trying to kill his trade value by being injured and being overweight and maybe having somebody take a risk on him. But at the same time, like I know everybody says this, including myself, said, "Oh yeah, Zion wants to go play with RJ," but I don't. For me, as a Knicks fan, like yeah, would it be nice? Yeah, but I'd rather have a healthy weight Zion than a Zion that's going to be over 300 pounds and injury prone and basically putting us back in salary cap hell like we were with Amari Stoudemire and now in Houston's and all these other players we have been in the past. Granted, obviously Zion has a lot of family influence. He's a family man. There's nothing wrong with being like that. But there's a difference between being a family man and then sort of like, I guess, destroying your career and letting them interfere with stuff. You can't let them interfere with stuff. Yeah, they can have an input and you could consider it and take it. And I'm not saying not to take it. But if it's stuff that's negatively impacting you, I don't think that he should do that. I think that he should just try to sort of be his own thing. And I think the weight issue is a big thing. Like Pete said, the force of him coming down on a dunk, a layup, it's going to destroy his knees. It's going to destroy his ankles.
Yeah, all that jumping is it's more harm to the knees.
Think about it. You have a 6'5". He's not. They say he's 6'7", 6'8".
He's 6'5".
He's 6'5", but you got a 6'5" guy, 300 and what? Let's say he's 330. Let's just give a round number 330 because he's over 315, from what I last heard. So let's give 330. So he's 6'5", 330. I'm 6'4". So he weighs more than me and he's taller than me. So if he's able to jump up in the air and come down with full force every single time, he's going to blow out his knees. We're talking, I'm not talking like ACL. I'm talking about cartilage on cartilage. I'm talking about Brandon Roy type blow out your knees, no cartilage type injury. CC Sabathia from the Yankees, prime example. Same thing. Basically, you have no cartilage there. It's basically bone on bone. You can't play like that. So for me, he needs to get his act together because I do like Zion, and I think he can, like Pete said, can be the future of the NBA with a lot of stuff. But he has to get his act together, honestly.
And he's young, so there's still time to like lose that weight and obviously take care of his body, but he has to do that as soon as possible.
Well, to go up from what he was 285 last season to go up from 285 to 330 is a big jump.
Yeah. I think I'm starting with Zion because Zion's the easier one to go through faster. I think he's just in a situation where if he was hurt, like if he had the foot injury, he probably wasn't doing anything really to keep himself in shape. And if you got a foot injury, literally you can't do much with a foot injury. So it's very well possible that during the period of time that he's been out with the injured foot, that he's put on that weight. And because New Orleans kind of told the injury publicly, like when he showed up for training camp, we don't even really know when he injured that foot. We know he's injured, but we don't know when he did it. So we don't know if
Early
this is something
summer.
that he had like at the end of the last season and has been ordered off of it and out of shape this whole entire off season, or did it just recently happen? But to put on that type of weight, if he's gone from like 300 to like anywhere between the 310 to 320 range or even higher, then he's probably been not exercising for at least maybe 2-3 months or not really be able to get himself back in shape. Is it possible for him to get back in shape? Yeah, because dieting, working out every day as an NBA player, it's possible that he can get himself back into great shape. You just hope that this is not a pattern of things. Like we've
But
had
it
players
is.
like Big Baby that struggled with weight his whole career. There's been other players, I just can't think of them all the top of my head right now, that have struggled with weight their whole career, and it kind of took away from their career because of that. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be like Michael Sweetney big at any point in time of his career, but at some point he does need to get in shape full time.
He had two previous instances. Remember when he was at Duke and his shoe blew apart and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
He was battling weight issues then. He ballooned up 25 pounds, like literally in 3 weeks. And they were like, how in the world can you balloon? It's his body genetics, something to do with it that made him balloon up. And then when he had that injury against the Spurs and was out for that long extended time, he gained 35 pounds in that instance. Because remember, he was cut at media day. Like you could see his like physique. It looked like, all right, he's in shape. Like he was 280 at that point, and he ballooned up over 300 pounds. Then dropped the weight back down when he came back to play. But apparently, early summer is when he hurt that foot, and he hasn't played since. And they, from what I've read, like from various sources, say that he doesn't have the will as far as the nutrition side of things, more so than the exercise and working out. It's the nutrition, eating healthy and eating right and balancing that. And that's his problem. And then pair that with genetics. You might just be a guy that puts on weight easy. And then it's like, that's not a good combination. But I don't think he'll end up like another one to throw out there. I don't think he'll end up like Oliver Miller or anything like that, like that big. But like Caleb Swanigan, you can look at something like he's a good example of a player like Zion's thing. Like, so Caleb Swanigan's battled weight. Caleb Swanigan, his last year with Sacramento and Portland, was in pretty relatively good shape for being a bigger guy. And then within 1 year of being out of the NBA, you saw the pictures that got taken of him, and he literally gained like 70 pounds in a year and looked like a dude that never has been in shape in his life. And so that quickly could be Zion if he doesn't take it serious. I don't think it will be, because I think Zion's too much of a guy that likes basketball. It's just I wish he would get with a renowned nutritionist and really work it. Like so from the mental aspect, look at Kevin Love. Look how fat he was at one point. Like doughy build, and then he got into shape, but the mental aspect kind of tore him up. But maybe something even along that line, just maybe not as extreme.
I think he suffers. Kevin Love suffers from depression and anxiety, so I think that's part of it. And he's in that association with DeMar DeRozan as well, who suffers from that as well. So
Mm-hmm. We're two advocates in the NBA for mental health.
hmm
So and then Ben, I think y'all pretty much said enough on Ben. Ben is the textbook
no. You got to say what you said in text message. Don't be trying to
Ben
go the peaceful
Ben
route. Come on, don't do it.
Ben because to me like I don't like comparing an NBA player to coaching an AAU kid, but that's what this looks like. Like this looks like a kid on an AAU team who like this weekend decided, yeah, I'm not playing with the team no more, and his parent made him come to the game, and he didn't feel like playing, so he just gives you an attitude the whole time, and you got to figure out what you're gonna do with this kid because he can help the team if he's mentally focused. His teammates want him to play, but he don't want to play today. So what do you do with that kid? When it's a third grader, you got to just take the L. So, okay, yeah, this kid's not playing. He just go let him sit on the bench, let him drink his juice box and play with his Switch, and he can have his fun for the day. But you can't do that with an NBA player. So it's like when he's in practice, I mean, any coach knows what that looks like when a player comes in the gym. He got his cell phone or something in his pocket. It's basically he's treating it like it's a pickup game or open gym at the rec center. It's like, yeah, I'm just here to get some reps in, and then I'm out. And that's hurting even his trade value because he's a player where it's like, okay, we don't know if you're a great shooter, Ben. I was thinking he gonna come back and he gonna be pulling up, hitting threes, going to the basket, dunking on people, getting triple doubles. Like, yeah, kind of like a Jimmy Butler did in the Minnesota Timberwolves practice. Like, just go in there and torch the whole team to make it known, like, yeah, it's not me that's the problem. I just don't want to rock with this team no more.
Right.
I would respect it if he did that. If he went in there and just said, no, I'm just going to violate the whole team in these pickups and then get me off this team. But he's not even taking that approach.
Jimmy had it right. I'm telling you that. I said been saying that for years. Jimmy Butler knows his shit. He calls out every player.
I don't know what the 76ers are going to do. Hopefully they figure out something in the long run that doesn't cripple their chances of being a contending team in the Eastern Conference.
They're not going to get a first-round pick for him. I'm going to say it right there. They're not. He killed
I think they will.
I
think they could still.
If they get a first-round pick, I think it's going to be a late first round. I don't think it's going to be
Yeah,
a mid.
I agree there.
I don't think it's going to be a middle or like early. I think it's going to be a late just because he's killed his value. Like, he's just being an idiot, caring about all this other stuff instead of just playing the damn game of basketball.
Right.
Yeah, he's just he's being unprofessional about it. It's what it comes down to.
Pretty much.
I don't think a trade comes until mid-December, December 15th, when all the available free agents or most of the available free agents this past summer are open to be able to be traded again. So that gives more options. You can't. How can you put him out on the court right now?
They're gonna have to.
He's gonna be throwing the ball in the stands on bad passes. He's gonna be getting lost on defense, and like what he wants is Doc Rivers to throw him out of the game and sit him down, and then he could say, "Look, my mental health is just being compromised right now," and and like finding out, and it's like, dude, you need to grow up. Like, be a man. Say, look, I'd like a trade. Whatever. Well, we see how that worked out with Sacramento and Marvin Bagley. So you can't really necessarily get what you want, but at least go be like a man and say, look, like, I don't think I fit with this team. I'd really like to try to get out of here. Like, and I think Daryl Morey would have worked with them and said, all right, if we do this quietly behind the scenes, we can make a deal and then go from there. But now you made everything public. Like, no team's going to give a Damian Lillard, even if Damian Lillard wanted out. There's no way. And the Sixers try to be sly and say, oh, we're going to hire your, what is it, his trainer or I forgot what he was as one of their assistant coaches. I think it's like something to do with one of Lillard's like close confidants. And I'm like, you're not getting him. Like, you can hire whoever you want.
Like this is. They're not interested in.
I just can't wait for a couple of years, 30 for 30. Trust the process.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah,
I just can't imagine. I mean, just the regime is, I don't know.
30 for 30, the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Simmons.
So, in this episode, we covered the recap of the games and our season award predictions, and covered the Ben Simmons and the Zion situation. And I'll come to our conclusion of today's episode because I don't want Pete to start pulling his hair out, just painting himself, thinking about Ben Simmons in his 76ers. You might have to just go buy the ice trade jersey. I know you've been holding out on. You might as well just go. You know he'll shoot. You know what I mean? So you got to
Oh
pick your
yeah,
poison. One who's not going to shoot, one who's always going to shoot it. So you
yeah,
might
you're
have to
right.
just join the ice trade movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. I
Pete, I
mean,
mean,
we'll
I,
see. We'll see what happens.
keep hope alive over there. I mean, I think a trade is going to come. I don't know what they're going to get for him, but they're going to be okay. They're not going to be, even with him not playing. I think Maxey is a decent
I
enough
was just
point
about to
guard
say
to stay them
that. Like, I
competitive.
have
Yeah,
faith in Maxi.
but Shake Milton's going to start over him for the foreseeable future. So he's not healthy right now. So Maxey gets a chance to kind of show what he can do.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, I'll
hopefully.
say this: like with Ben Simmons not being out on the floor, it helps them better than him being forced out onto the floor
Yeah.
and into the game, because then you get kind of like somebody that doesn't want to be there and hurts the chemistry even worse and just totally mucks it up. Like at this point, I mean, it's not going to happen, but at this point, if somehow the Lakers even offered Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons, I take it. As much as I despise Westbrook, like I would take that. I would take Westbrook on the
I don't,
Sixers. That's how bad I want Simmons gone.
we don't want Ben over here. We
Yeah.
don't want him.
Well, you're going to not want
We don't
Westbrook
want
after
him. You can go to
January.
the Clippers. You can go to the Clippers and maybe y'all get somebody back from the Clippers. But we don't want him.
Okay, Eric Bledsoe. Yeah, I take Eric Bledsoe at this point.
All right, but like always, thank you everyone who is here today that joined in for the podcast. Whether you're a part of it, watching it, supporting it, we appreciate everything. If you missed our live podcast, you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Sounds of the Hardwood Podcast. Full live version is there. And we also post an audio version of the podcast to Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And like always, see you on the next one.
Next and 7.